Alright, I'm going to show how to get facial expressions into MikuMiku Dance through the PMD script. We're just going to start with um, the original mesh we had from the beginning of the videos. It's just a single mesh. It's got one skin modifier, or one modifier. It's a skin modifier. Um, to begin this, we're going to isolate the face, just so that we don't have things like the legs and the clothes interfering with our vertex editing, okay? So I'm going to chop this thing off, and what I'm going to do is just go into element mode and just select parts of the face. Um, it kind of helps to go into wireframe mode and press F2 to get into edge mode. We're just going to, how do I do this? Just make this thing. And this is looking alright. Okay, so I go back. Yeah, okay, I think I got it. Just want to include just the stuff I want to deal with. In this stage, you may want to also get some other props. Anything you want to be involved with the vertex animation, you should probably include it in this one object. So, things you want, like a prop to resize, or, stuff that will aid with the expression, like teardrops or something. You're going to include that all in this one object. So, I'm pretty happy with this. I selected the face, the eyes, and stuff like that. So I'm just going to right-click and detach. And I think that's good. Okay, so because we modified the mesh, there's going to be issues when we export with the UV map. So we're just going to try and preserve that UV map by selecting the objects in our scene, and we're going to export, of course, to 3ds. Alright, so now we can delete these meshes, and then we can import them back in. There we go. Alright, so of course, just going through the routine, we can just add a edit normals modifier. I'll just reduce that. And on top of that, we can right click and paste the skin back on. But as I just found out, we can paste as an instance, and it'll keep on top of the normal modifier. So we'll just paste that on. And of course, now we can see the skin and edit normals modifier. That's cool. So now we can just isolate the face simply by selecting it, right-clicking, and then hiding unselected. Right, and then we just have the face there. So now we can just add the morpher modifier, and we just select it here. Okay. Now, once you add it, you're going to want to bump it down. So you can just left-click and drag, and bump it down underneath the skin and the edit normals. And that's because you want to be able to select multiple objects and still retain the ability to access the skin and edit normals modifier. If we had left this modifier above, and we select multiple objects, it'll disappear. We won't have access to that. So I'm just going to bump that down. Just hide that again. Another thing to note, if you guys import with the PMD script, you'll notice that it has multiple morpher modifiers with different names, like eyes, mouth, etc. We're just going to keep this simple. The category export is actually broken on the script, so it doesn't really matter. So we're just going to keep with one morpher modifier, make it simple. Okay. So with this now added, we can just copy this face object, make a change, and then we can import that, or rather add it into this morpher modifier as a morph target, and then we just fill up these slots. Okay. So we're going to do that. We're just going to create a copy of the mesh and make a change. So we're just going to go into move mode. And this is one way you can copy, is basically just select the object. You're going to hold shift on your keyboard, then left click on the gizmo, and then while you're holding, you drag and then release your mouse. And then you get this dialog. So you have copy, instance, and reference. We're going to keep it as a copy, and you can name it if you want. Call this one blink. Hit OK. And what you'll notice is it immediately pulls back to its original position. This is because we still are bound, or the skin is binding the mesh to the skeleton. So to undo that, we can just delete these not morpher modifiers. We can just delete these modifiers. So we can just hit this trash can button until we just have nothing but the editable mesh. So there we go. We have the object is pulled back to over here after we deleted the skin modifier. Okay. So another way we can copy is if we just go up to here to edit and then clone. And then we get the dialog again. So we're going to copy, and we'll call this one open mouth. Okay. And the difference here is the copy will be over top of the original. So we can just click and drag with the gizmo to kind of separate them. Okay, so we have now two copies of our source or original model here, the morpher modifier. So we make changes to these and then add them in. So this one I call it blink. So we're just going to do a simple vertex edit. We're going to go into editable mesh, go to vertices, and then just simply move vertices around. So let's try and make her blink. So you can probably see the kind of issue here, how tedious that is. You have to move vertex by vertex into an animation or a new expression. And that could take a while, right? Now, there is actually a little tool here that can help us, and that's called soft selection. So I turn that on, and I select something on the object. You can see that the vertices change color. And if we change the fall off, the color will change to a kind of rainbow color. And what this is actually doing is it's selecting vertices with a different amount of pull. And the colors represent how much pull we have. So if I was to move this one point, you can see that it's actually pulling a group of vertices in that region. And what it's actually doing is it's following this curve line here. So we can change the type of pull by adjusting these three sliders, the amount of range or fall off, and we can also pinch the curvature to get a different pull. So if I was to pull this again, it'll change with this curvature. All right. So this will help us in selecting and pulling vertices. You can see in this particular example here, it's grabbing the face as well as the eyeball, and we may not want to include that, and we can do that. We can turn on edge distance. We'll just give it a value, and now it's only going to access that element. All right. Another thing we can do to kind of isolate out parts of the mesh is we can go into, say, polygon mode, and we can select some polygons, and then in here is a button called hide. Right? And then that'll hide that part of the object. It's not deleted. You can go back to polygon and select unhide. And then you have, of course, access to those polygons again. Okay. So just through some simple tools that we have here, we can kind of make an expression. So I'm going to select this eye, and I'm going to use fall off. Okay, just going to slide that down. I don't want to get into this. I'm just going to make this quick. Okay, I'm just going to, oops, grab the ear somehow. So I'm just going to smush this down. Alright, so yeah, you get the idea. It's basically you just, you're going to have to edit the model per vertex. One thing to keep in mind, you cannot delete polygons. If you delete polygons, you cannot add the object as a morph target any longer. So that means selecting something and pressing delete, or going through here and adding a vertice. Okay, so you can't do that. Alright, you can only move around what you already have. So keep that in mind. Later on in another video, I'll cover some workarounds we can do. But for now, we'll just keep it simple. Do not delete or add anything. Okay, so we're just going to quickly finish off this last morph target here. Nothing fancy. We'll just move the lip down through use of the soft selection. And so there we go. So we got two expressions. We're going to add these into our morpher modifier. So selecting our original mesh, we're going to go to morpher. And we can just add a target just simply by right-clicking, then going to pick from scene, and then left-clicking on any one of the objects. Okay. But there's an easier way. We can just go to the bottom here and load multiple targets, and then we can just select all of them, and then they'll load automatically in the list. So once that's done, we can just delete these. We don't need them any longer, and then of course they can be accessed now through here. If we ever want to tweak something, we can go down to the bottom and we can actually extract that particular, oh, I had it right there, that particular object. Alright, we can make a change to it or whatnot. But anyway, with these now in the morpher slots, we can adjust the spinner from 0 to 100 to basically combine different morph targets to achieve an expression. Okay, so we're going to return this back to 0, and we're going to export this out to PMD. Alright, so I'm just going to unhide the body. One thing I'm just going to check out is the neck. Usually when we detach an object, there'll be a breakup somewhere. So I can select both objects. Go back into edge mode. There we go. And I can enter normals, and I can just select that region of normals, and we can just weld that normal there. And that will repair the broken faces that we saw in the neck. Okay, so yeah, we're good to go. So we're just gonna hit export, and we'll just call this number 5 or number 6, or 5, whatever. And because the export script doesn't properly manage the categories, we can actually just go into the PMD editor and manage that this way. So if we open up that PMD file, we can go to the expression tab, and in that expression tab it shows our morph targets. Okay, so we can select blink, and you can see that the icon is green, which means it's in the brow category, which is actually wrong. So we want to reassign this to the eye, right, and the mouth will reassign to the lips. Okay, so after you export, you can just manage them through here. Alright, and then when you're done, you just have to save. Okay, good. So we just close that down, and now we can go into MikuMiku Dance. So we're going to load that model up. Number 5. Yeah. Just going to focus in on the face here. And of course, now in the expression panel, you can see under eyes we have blink, and we can just move the slider to activate that. Of course, we have the mouth slider over here on the mouth group. So there you go. That's how you get morph targets into PMD.